Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm Melina Lewis, and I am a writer. I do a bit of marketing, I do a bit of yoga, I do a bunch of stuff that keeps me out of trouble. And I am here today interviewing Harry Melk. He is also a friend and also a serial business person, entrepreneur. Anyway, we're going to get to how he does things differently. But just to say that the interview is really primarily aimed at showcasing people who are doing it for themselves. And so I really believe in working for myself. And maybe in these times you found yourselves struggling to either keep a business going or you found yourself unemployed, and perhaps you're considering going and working for yourself. And so I've decided to chat to a few clever people like Harry and find out how they do it so that we can learn from the experts. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight in and introduce you to Harry. And here he is. Hey, Harry.
Hi, hello. Hi, Mel. How are you? Hi, everyone.
Hi. So, Harry, I'm going to start off with a cheesy little question that I like. When you were a kid, what was it that you dreamed of becoming when you got big?
I don't know if it was a dream or if it was just something, two words that I learned from friends or something, but I always told my parents that I would like to become a poet and a doctor.
Were you watching Dead Poets Society from when you were a kid?
Yeah, because I'm so young. That's right. You're right. Exactly.
Oh yeah, knowing what Dead Poet Society is kind of gives the game away, doesn't it? Oh goodness. Okay, that's awesome. Well, let's see how that has panned out. Seeing as I think you're a chartered accountant, so maybe, yeah. Did you try to get into med school?
No, and I wrote one or two poems and they didn't rhyme. So, yeah, but I was like 5 or 6 at the time. I didn't even know what a poem was.
That's great, but that's your first memory. Okay, cool. Super. So, Harry, I think the best thing is let's jump straight in and you tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, cool. So where do I start? So, yeah, I was sort of all over the place at varsity, not knowing what to do. My father was keen on for me to become a chartered accountant. So I did the BCom with that option and then ultimately ended up doing it and had to do my articles and all of that kind of stuff. And where it does fit in all the stuff, I mean, I don't think chartered accountancy would have been my selected thing if it was for me to choose on my own. As I said, I'm not exactly sure what I would have chosen. But what I do like about all of these things is I'm a big safety net guy. So having a chartered accountancy is a nice safety net to have because, you know, in most places you can find some sort of work if things really get dire. So that's the context of the chartered accountancy. And through that, you learn a lot of business models. You have a lot of interactions with people. They're all corporate. You're dealing with corporates there. After I'd done my articles, I was asked if I wanted to stay on as a manager, and I was very eager not to because I don't know, there was this like itchy feet and trying to get out. And there were a couple of options available to me. One of them was to go overseas, like most of the people in my peer group were doing. And then there was another opportunity where myself and 2 others were starting a change management company, and that's the option I took.
Okay.
And it was called Change Logic. And then from there, I was in and out of being either permanently employed or consulting to companies, either in a consultancy or in my own capacity. And so that was the start of me being quite flexible and understanding that actually you're always working for someone, but also you're always selling. You're selling yourself, or you need to justify why people are paying you for whatever you're doing. And that was the start of my journey into starting to actually do what I want to do and aligning my work with my passions, we go through all the jargon, but my true, what I believe I was put on the planet to do. And so from there I moved over a number of years. I mean, I've been working for over 20 years. I know I look a lot younger than that.
Absolutely.
But about 3 or 4 years ago, made a decision with my wife to try and get into the wine industry, and so I moved there because that's one of my passions. And now I find myself in the middle of the wine industry, and portion of that is full-time or part-time employment with a salary, and a lot of it is me having to make ends meet by doing tours, tastings, consultancy, and all those kind of things. So yeah, that's a summary, I guess.
Cool. Okay, cool. So there's lots on the go, and I know you do a lot of different things. So I suppose, you know, at the moment you've got business which is, you know, employed by the Wine Academy, and that's kind of, you know, a salary, for lack of a better term, or a contract. But then you've also got, I know you've got a business in the UK that you are part ownership of.
Yeah. So after, if I had to fill in some of the gaps, after Change Logic, I was there for a couple of years. I decided that I wanted to go to the UK for no other reason than I wanted to go. And so I left. You know, during the time, I suppose if you want to get a sense of me, a friend of mine, Bruce, and I, when we were first getting paid, we didn't take up pensions and all these unit trusts. We took all that cash and we started buying properties. And we did that because we always thought that we could live off it. And we always went running home to mom with our tails between our legs because we couldn't afford it. But we did end up with some properties. And then, so that's it, the investment side. You know, there's investment, there's entrepreneurs, right, and there's employees. And there's always this debate that I used to have it with my dad, I have it with people all the time. With some of those investments, I went over to the UK and I ended up there for 7 years. And sure. Then in that time, invested in property, but also started, I was like a co-owner of, or still am co-owner of restaurants. We started with 1 in 2011 and now we've got 6. Difficult times, obviously, with the corona now, but yeah, we did. And that was something on the side.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, yeah, I know you like to say that, you know, you're just doing wine, but there's actually lots of things going on all the time that I'm sure keeping you out of trouble. But yeah, that's quite a bit that's going on at the moment, Terry. I don't know how you keep hold of it all. So, and in terms of that business growth, what I really liked about what you were saying was that you did have initially that safety net of a degree, which is great. And, you know, push comes to shove, you could always go and work in some, dare I say, heinous accounting firm. But, but you know, some people love that, and that's great. Yeah. But, you know, there is that thing which is great. And, you know, I suppose you are grateful to your dad for that, you to do that. So at least you've got it. But also then I suppose it's very much in your personality and your makeup in terms of making that decision to go and start your own business right up front. You had the skills, had the knowledge. The accounting firm was saying, no, come, we'll give you a nice fat salary. And you went, actually, no, I'm going to go the less traveled route. And I think often with people who are, and as I say, I hate that word entrepreneurial, but who are excited by business, but not necessarily working for someone else, that you end up kind of taking the road less traveled and the one where you don't know if it'll actually pan out and going down that route. So, I mean, obviously you had a lot of insight and knowledge into maybe change management. So did you need anything else when you started that business? Did you just like jump ship? Or, I mean, did you need to know about restaurants when you started that business, or when you went into wine? Besides, we all know we love wine, some of us. So like, you know, did you feel like in doing any of these ventures that you needed to have something critical? You had your accounting kind of brain, and I was chatting to Hayley Buchanan, and she said you know, she's not good with numbers, and she luckily had a boyfriend who was an accountant to help her with her business setup. So you're lucky to have that in yourself. But was there anything else that you felt like you needed to have before you jumped into all these different businesses?
No, I was never studied in change management. I'd done a lot of consulting. I'd seen a lot of business models. So, when you're doing change management consulting, it's more about the people, but you're still working in an environment where you need to start making profits and all of that. I was never closely affiliated with accounts. It wasn't like I was a natural when it came to accounts. Through a lot of hard work, I managed to understand it and get it. So yeah, I mean, you don't get your CA if you don't know that. But yeah, and in terms of the restaurants, no experience in restaurants. It was so funny, you go to the UK and you see a nice job and you apply for it, and they say, have you got any experience in that? I said, no, but I'll get it if you give me the job. And they go, no, well, you don't have the experience, you can't get the job. I said, well, that's a bit tricky. So what do you want me to do? I said, no, you must go find another job. So I said, okay. And I am a true believer that actually you've got to find the personalities. You're looking for people who are the right fit, and then the skills can be learned. I mean, I've done it many times. And actually, when you do know the skills, really do you know the skills, because everyone knows about the economy, and we're not even talking about Corona, and they're always getting it wrong. Everyone knows about the weather, they're always getting it wrong. So it's actually more about the experience and how you deal with situations as they arrive.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the armchair critics, as we know, there are multiple. And I'm fascinated, just kind of going off topic in terms of Corona, at all the medical experts that sit on their couches of late. Fascinated. So, but I suppose in that, there's something in that in terms of like, be careful who you take advice from, really, when you open up your business. Is it someone who has done this before, or is it someone who's been employed by a company for their entire life that is now giving you advice on how to start your business, and then obviously trying to kind of drag you down or maybe to put you off it? So yeah, there's something about who you accept advice from. I don't know, was there anyone that you ever lent on in your businesses, or in any one of them, that you found their advice was amazing?
For me, the main thing, because you can have these dreams and you can have these visions of where you're going to be in the future. You need mentors, and you need the mentors before you even start.
Right.
And I lean on a lot of people in terms of, I mean, even people that you wouldn't ordinarily think know something, but I'll ask them, what do you think of this? Is it working or not? The big thing, whenever you're trying to start something or you've got an idea, whether you're going for money or whether you're just going for a hobby or whether you're just going because it's fun, whatever, are the naysayers. And there are so many. And it's usually the people that you don't believe would be the naysayers. And I don't know if it's a human inclination for people to be so negative, or maybe it's just a fear that they have of stepping, let's talk about entrepreneurs, and this is the debate we always have. So you get an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur is a person who can freely start a business, close a business, start a business over and over and over again, and they are comfortable with the risks. And what was the one definition? An entrepreneur jumps out of the plane and makes his parachute on the way down. That's entrepreneur. Okay, that's entrepreneur. Someone who starts his own business, throws his whole self at it, and believes in himself and starts that business, and that business becomes big, and they work at that business for 40 years, had an entrepreneurial strand, but then they're an employee to the business.
Right.
Because they're not doing it over and over again. This is just my views. I do a lot of investing in small business. I see a business and there's an opportunity. I put some money in there, and then I provide some sort of help if I can. I mean, I don't know much about drones, but I'm invested in a drone business. And that's not entrepreneurial either. That's me either taking a punt or an informed decision, and that's someone else. Yes, maybe entrepreneurial and thinking, okay, drones will take off or this will take off. That's not entrepreneurial either. And even, I suppose, working in, I think you're always working for someone. Whether it's you're working for yourself or you're working for a big organization, you're always working for someone. But you can be true to your own values and your own path. And sometimes, or more often in the big organizations, you're torn away from that because they have got specific requirements and they don't always align to what your requirements are.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the collective versus kind of the individual, I suppose, is the difference.
Sure.
And yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more in terms of working for someone else. So even especially as a marketing consultant, I am always working for someone else. And it's not entrepreneurial to be a consultant, no matter what we like to think. We own our own time, sure, but we are definitely beholden to the client. We like a faraway employee in a way based on hours, but as you say, not entrepreneurial, but an income stream, that's for certain. So yeah, but I agree with you. One answers to that. In terms of my writing, I feel like I sometimes have to answer to readers and what I think that they will want and what they are hopefully going to like in the future, you know. And you know, as a yoga instructor, one would have to, you know, make sure that the ladies are enjoying the class. Have I got the music right, etc. So absolutely, yeah, always answering to someone. But I think as you say, the joy is really in owning your time. And how do you actually put what you love together and do that over and over again versus kind of driving to work for an hour, spending 8 hours in an office, and then driving an hour home every day and feeling miserable. So yeah, that's just my thing. It doesn't have to have the I'm an entrepreneur badge, but
No.
but at least you can be more, as you say, true to yourself. So I wanted to ask you, what is one of your favorite hacks for running a business? Any of your businesses, it could be one of them in particular, or maybe something that's common to all. But what do you think's in BB?
Yeah, so for me, it's just go ahead and do it. You know, too many people, I know people have got responsibilities and they've got family and they say that they're secure wherever they're working and stuff, even though their decision, and this is working completely against who they are as a person. If you've got a dream and you've got a good idea and you've got something and it keeps on nagging at the back of your head and it's like, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I want to do this, but Joe over there says no, and Stephen over there says no, says it's silly, it's stupid, no, you'll never do it, be careful and all that kind of stuff. My advice is just do it, but don't just go and do it. You know, Trace, my wife and I, the way we do it, if we were to leave a business, we make a decision and we sort of would resign from that business in the future. So maybe 6 months or 9 months, we put it in the calendar. So listen, this is not working. So in 6 months, 9 months, let's resign from there. We've really got the view in our head as to what we want to do. Maybe it's a broad picture. It doesn't have to be defined. And so now we know. And we're making the decision not because we're reacting to some stresses at work. We're making it because it's informed and it's what we want to do. And then through that, you can start to work. It doesn't matter if you're working a full day, but you just take steps. You can dream. Dreams aren't going to come true by sitting on the couch. You have to be active. You've got to work at it. And I'm not saying big steps. You don't have to dream to go to the moon and be the person who builds the rocket ship. You just don't have to do that. Right. You just have to, every day, do something. And whether it's, you know, I often say to people, I don't know what to do. I have no idea where to start. I say, okay, what do you want to do? I want to become the best mushroom grower in the whole country. I said, okay. So have you found who else is a mushroom grower? Yeah. My neighbor's doing mushrooms. He's doing oyster mushrooms. So it just came to mind. He's much gin. So they also got this sort of whole thing going.
Oh, fantastic. I'll have to speak to him next. You'll have to give me his details.
Cool. But the thing is, the steps can be, people say, I don't know what to do. I said, okay, well, go Google someone in South Africa who knows mushrooms. There's the mushroom guy who goes foraging. There's the urban hunter-gatherer. Just phone one person and say, listen, can I tap your brains because I want to know about mushrooms and I believe you're the expert. They'll feel great. They'll give you the time. 9 times out of 10, people are very generous with their time. Then the next week, you don't know what to do. Phone the next person on the list and the next person. And what you end up doing is you create a network. And then after about 10 of these, mushroom expert, and I promise you that kind of thing breeds success. Also, you become more open and aware I say the universe conspires to help you, but you become more aware of the opportunities in mushrooms, and it's amazing. You probably sit around a table once a month and people speak about mushrooms, but you're close to it because you haven't switched it on. And then
Right.
as soon as you put whatever that is on, someone speaking about mushrooms, you're in there, boom, and then the opportunities come, the networks build, but you've got to be active. You can't sit on the couch and say, "Oh, I'd love to be the best mushroom grower."
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't be passively involved in your dream. You have to be actively involved in your dream.
Take the steps.
And taking the steps, absolutely. And I really loved what you said about setting that goal down the line and saying, okay, in 9 months' time, that's when I want to resign. Maybe it shifts, maybe it doesn't, whatever. You never know, as we know, you never know what's going to happen. But setting that intention and then building towards that. And
it just means you become receptive to your ideas while you still got your income. So in 6 months, if you phone someone every week let's use the mushroom example, you phone quite a lot of people, you built up quite a network. You would have no doubtedly, because of some of the conversations you've had, done some more research on it. And you start reading the books, and then you start to see, okay, these are the businesses that are in mushrooms. This is what can happen. And I'm a big mind mapper. You must see how many mind maps I've got. And when you draw, for me, visually, Harry's Big Wine Adventure, and I've got all these little branches that pop off. And then you start to see how it all fits together. Oh, I'm doing this, but this is so close. Let's just join those two clouds. And now we've got a cumulonimbus, and it's going to rain.
Rain down boleros. Yeah.
Rain down. Oh, so my hack is put it out there. You don't have to be detailed in your dream. You just need to know where you want to be.
Right.
And I always also use this. It's like a join the dots picture, where you know what the theme is of the picture. You've got the theme. The book is the theme, but you don't know exactly how you're going to go there. But if you keep that end in sight, is what the whole picture is like. And every step is like joining a dot. As you go further with these steps, you start to see what the detail is going to look like. And then by doing those steps, you end up with the whole picture. And I'm not guaranteeing success here. I mean, I've failed a lot. I've also been successful a lot. But that is, for me, the hack. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Nike had something when they said just do it.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, this interview is a bit of a hack, if we're going with the just do it, where it's like, I'm hoping that, we can help a couple of people start their own thing by being inspired by people like yourself. But it's certainly not polished. But, at least get that information out.
The biggest inhibitors about just doing it or starting is fear.
Yeah.
Fear of what people think, fear of failure, fear of, and I suggest, and I've done this, and because you're on the Love and Time of Corona tasting group, it was just a decision. Start. It might be messy, but I promise you the mess fixes up very quickly because you get feedback and people will leave or they'll come. Yes. And it's the people that stay. We'll talk about that hopefully just now, but don't try please everyone. Seriously, it's not worth it. You spend more time trying to convert people who are never going to be converted than actually nurturing the people that love you. So start messy. Just start and start messy. It gets polished very, very quickly because if it's got legs and it's working and you're joining the dots, it gets polished very quickly.
Absolutely. And I think, so there's a couple of things there. There's that, go do it. Be receptive to criticism and feedback. But I think, like we said with, previously, is the important thing is to then think about, okay, who's giving me that feedback or that advice, and then kind of either take with a bucket of salt, bucket of salt or not. And I have that with books because I give my manuscripts to people to read. And depending on who the person is, how do I weigh this? But if you're getting the same comment over and over again, well, something's got to change and you've got to shift that. And then what I also liked was you talking a bit about failing, and you've done a bit of failing. What have you learned from failing?
Everything. There was that movie, and you just reminded me, was it Apollo 13 or whatever?
Yeah.
And the guy had all the A's and he had done everything. And he was like the best suitable candidate for going up in space or building I can't remember the exact details. And they gave it to the person who just failed on the last trip. And the reason was because they've got the learning. Because if stuff happens up there and you don't know what to do, you're dead. So I love that. And that's what the failing is, the biggest learning. Yes, you can read in books. I can't remember what I read about accountancy. I can remember about wine, but that's more recent.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, whew, what a relief. But that stuff changes all the time, you know. What you learned 10 years ago is completely different to what you learn now. Post-corona, everything people have learned, we even knew this with artificial intelligence coming down the line. It's not what you know, it's the failings on how you deal with things, how you deal with pressure, how you see things, how you have empathy, how you don't have empathy, all of these kind of things. And it's taken, I spent a long time not starting things like, no, I can't climb that mountain, I'm going to die. Or no, I can't surf, which I still can't do, but I'm not fearful of trying it, you know. I have gone and done some of the lessons. And it's that fear that keeps on holding people back. And I think the biggest failure in life will be when you're lying on your deathbed and you've got all these regrets going through your head. And that would be a failure for me. And that would be a devastating failure.
That is devastating. That is absolutely devastating. I can't think of anything worse
Exactly.
than being that person who's lying there and going, I wish I had. So may as well go. And if someone laughs at you, then it's okay, you know. So what advice would you give? So you've opened a lot of things, a lot have been successful, a lot haven't. If someone came to you as their mentor, because I also really loved what you said about choosing your mentors and finding that person who can give you that sound advice. What advice would you give, you know, if the guy next door selling the mushroom comes to you and says, Harry, I need some advice on XYZ. What would you be able to impart?
I'd probably say to him, find someone who's nice and charming and who knows a bit more about mushrooms.
That's great advice. Great advice.
No, what would I say? You know, I'd have to look at it and chat about it. And my advice would be more sort of out there, have the dreams, follow your path. I'm very good at networking, so I can connect him. I'll definitely in my network, I'll have someone who will be able to connect. And then I'll give him a sort of it's kind of on sort of, on some of the decisions and the impacts of those decisions. You know, I can do that. When I talk about mentors, and it's almost like fake it till you make it. So if you want to be the best chess player, hang out with those chess players that are better than you. You know, and you will be in that. You'll lift up to that level. And so, and the mentors have to be inspiring. I mean, there's no point in having someone who's brilliant who just grinds you, or you have no respect for, or that doesn't fit in with you, who you are. So, and mentors don't actually have to be experts. So I'm sort of contradicting myself, but they just need to be someone who, a trusting ear, who's going to be honest and who has been around the block. For Connor, I would just say, you know, Connor, he's doing everything that I mean, he's very spiritual and he's doing all that stuff. He's taking the steps. And that's how monks got off the ground. And he's doing so much in terms of other things. So I have, funnily enough, there's quite a few people who phone me up and say, Harry, can we just have a chat? Because I see what you're doing and you seem comfortable and all that, regardless of whether I'm shitty. But I've given quite a few people advice and shown them mind maps and shown them how things start linking together and all of that kind of stuff. It's actually quite surprising how many people do ask me that. And that's cool. And then they go away and they go, thanks, that's helped. I don't know if they ever become successful or not, but they get out of this sort of terrified state and start to become proactive, which, as I've said, starts to create momentum.
Right. Okay. So I think the important thing that I take is that moving beyond that fear. So kind of pulling yourself out of the little fear circle that often is inside the head. Oh no, what will happen? And then da-da-da-da, and so-and-so said, and then kind of moving out of that. And like you, I love mind maps. I make nice clouds. And, you know, and putting that on paper and going, oh, wow, look, okay, this piece over here and that piece over there. And I think drawing on that network. And I think a few people, definitely who I've spoken to, network. Use whatever, some people do it on social media. You possibly, are more kind of direct person, or if not them, then someone they know, etc. And so finding people like that, but always kind of looking at your network and harvesting that. And it's not in an ugly way or in a user kind of way, but it's very much in a more like, hey, this, can you help me? Can you give me that advice? So I think that comes across quite strongly.
Yeah, so networking, it's not a harvesting, it's a mindset. So it's also a personality. I'm quite gregarious. So when I go meet people, I meet them, and I'm much better at using my network to put other people together. But the benefits of that also come back, networking is just always being receptive to people. If I can meet someone who is into something that's completely unrelated to my life, and they're on my network, and I remember them. And there's some people that are very good at that.
Yes.
I mean, Debbie is very good at that.
Yes.
But and you're not building this network for any reason at this stage. But when you have put your dream out there, it's amazing how the network, people you don't even know that you are in your network, and some people you know quite well, come to you and you go, oh, I know this person, and I know that person, and I've got this, and I've got that. Harry, have you spoken to this person? And so it just feeds. Networking is important, whether you an employee, or whether whatever. It's, for me, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I feel networking is important as a human being. I also I'm interested in people and what they do and how they do it, and their perspectives and their views, and and I love kind of those little nuggets and about people and connecting people. And as you say, it comes around. There's no harm in introducing X to Y. They'll do the same later, or they won't, but it's really like no skin off your back. So it's just a cool thing to do. So last thing, what do you absolutely love about where you're at now in terms of your businesses, in terms of how you work? What are you loving?
I'll tell you what I am loving is that by following this model and sitting in a time of Corona, and I can see and I understand fully that a lot of people are stressed and they aren't sure what the future holds. And I'm sitting here, and you asked about income streams previously, and I said they're not called income streams anymore, they're just called streams, because everything's dried up. But but I'm not feeling that stress. I'm not feeling like, damn it, what's going to happen? I have nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. And what I'm liking is that there's some things that I've started which have been messy, and they still are a little bit messy, but that's cool. And it's amazing. Let's talk about it. I'm doing these sort of online wine sessions, which aren't just tasting wine and showing. It's more about sharing info and storytelling and actually socializing. So it's something different to what you normally see.
Yeah.
And it's going so incredibly well. I mean, yes, there are a few things that can be polished, but from that, we've now done 12. We've had winemakers on quite a lot of them.
Yes.
And I'm getting winemakers asking me now if they can come onto it. And for me, the exciting thing is, without defining what the model is going to look like at the end, and I've got some good ideas, I've mapped quite a few scenarios. I'm just letting it play out, because, and I'm very, very certain in my mind that the opportunities that are going to come out after this Corona thing are huge. And I think that, and I suppose that's why I'm comfortable, because I'm taking steps. I'm doing exactly what I said earlier.
Right.
It was a dream, took some steps. It's starting to get a life of its own. And that is the exciting bit. It's like, the picture's you're starting to see what the detail is. And that's awesome. It's so amazing.
That's brilliant. No, and I have been a loyal supporter of wine tastings, and they've been fantastic.
Thanks.
And I've adored, especially when the winemaker gets on and they are interesting and they've always got a story and they're farmers and they're such different characters. And I love how they talk about their wine, how they talk about their farms, what they do, what excites them. And it kind of makes, just having that glass of wine is like, okay, whatever. The story is just so fantastic. So that's been absolutely amazing about the process. But I absolutely agree with you in terms of, one, does someone sit in the place of fear and do that thing where you spin around and go, oh no, oh no, oh no, this is terrible? Or, as you say, do you lift yourself up and out and then look at things differently and go, okay, how can things shift and change? So it's about having an agile mind, I think of it as, and opting to not just sit in fear. Absolutely, you should have a couple of days of that, but then you got to move on and actually finding a way to do things differently. So and I think you've done that, Harry. You've taken what used to be something one did at a wine farm in a wine cellar and just tasting wine, and now it is online and people, can't wait for the next session because who are they going to meet? What's everyone going to be saying? There's going to be jokes flying on the sides. So it's absolutely like a complete twist on wine tasting, but it works. It works. It's amazing. And you can do that globally, hopefully, kind of going forward. So yeah.
Well, we are.
Yeah, there you go. So it's fantastic. It's absolutely amazing.
I just want to say, Mel, people will be in that state of fear. It's no fault of their own. It's just that's where they are. And talk about change management on this sort of curve of emotions that you go through, and so it's completely understandable. I think the trick is trying to get out of that state, because you will naturally come out of that state with time, but you can also dig yourself deeper into a depression or into those kind of fearful modes. And you can choose whether you do that or whether you let's ride the curve or you're proactive in trying to get out of it. And so I think the suggestion is that either don't hop on the negative. If the news is too much, switch it off. You'll come out and you'll have good and bad days. I mean, there are days when I'm like, cool, this is quite hectic, but I've been in a lot more hectic situations. And it's all perception, because those hectic situations from the past actually weren't that hectic. It was what my mind was doing. And that was one of the learnings from failure was actually, if you ask yourself what the worst situation you've ever been in your life, and everyone has one, and what you were thinking during that time, what was going to happen and how it ended up. 9 times, well, I don't know, but 9 times out of 10, it's never as bad as what your mind was telling you it's going to be. It never works out as bad as it was.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It always is. The construct in the mind is often huge. And what I often say to people is keep a journal or a diary and tell yourself that story on paper. There's a lot of therapy that talks about writing, writing letters or whatever. It doesn't have to be that dramatic, but just write out what you're thinking. And then you will often, by the end of the page, have 1, a solution, and 2, you'll be able to go back and go, really? That wasn't so bad. So, it's not to belittle anyone's problems or to make anyone's, my problems worse than yours or anything like that. But it's just a case of, as you say, taking the problem, working through it, and then kind of having that perspective and going back to it and going, okay, there could be a solution. Sure, it's bad, but how can we move on? So yeah, 100% agree. Well, thank you, Harry. That's been amazing. Where can people get hold of you?
So, my email address, harrymelk@gmail.com. Got Harry's Big Wine Adventure, which is the website, and also on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
Or they can phone you and get my number.
Great, phone me. Send me your email address. Yes. Great. I'll be happy to share Harry's contact details with anyone who wants. So thank you so much, Harry.
No, thanks, Mel, man. That's great. Really. Thanks, eh?
Lovely chatting. Lovely chatting. And I'm sure we'll see you on Zoom doing wine.
You will.
Okay, cool. Cheerio. Bye. Just wanted to say thank you to Harry Milk. As he said, you can get hold of him on Harry's Big Wine Adventures on Facebook or Instagram, and you will see all the fun things he is up to with regards to wine. Get in touch with him. Maybe there's something that you could do with him. He's always open to new ideas. It's fantastic. I just wanted to say thank you once again for listening in, and I hope that we shed some positive light and ideas on owning a business, running a business. So I hope that you stay strong, happy, enthused, and inspired, and have a wonderful rest of week. And we'll chat soon again. Namaste.